Hello there, I'm Dan the Gaming Man and it's time for yet another game review. Today we're going to take a look at a new game that will be coming to Steam on the 15th of January 2024. It's called MiceGard. I received a Steam key from the developer Game Dynasty, so I'd like to say thank you to them for being so kind. That said, this is not a sponsored video, so I'll be giving you my honest opinion of the game, the bad as well as the good. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. Now, let's take a look together to see if this game is a cheesy waste of time or an amousing experience. Yeah, stick around, more puns to come. MiceGard was developed by Game Dynasty, who have previously released 3 other games on Steam. Obscurity and Shiro, which were both released in 2020, and The X-Crawlers, which is a dungeon crawler that came out in February 2023. MiceGard can be played in 9 different languages, including English. I'll insert a pop-up for the full list. MiceGard is described as an adventure game where Viking mice fight for honour, fame and survival, and is said to have been inspired by Norse mythology. The story follows the protagonist, Micel, who is the greatest warrior of a mouse village called MiceGard. Basically, the sworn enemies of the tribe, who are a group of frogs, have kidnapped, or should that be mouse-napped, all the children from the village. You and your band of merry mice must rescue the children and defeat the frogs led by their evil overlord, Toadin. The game can be played with a keyboard and mouse, how appropriate, or with a controller. I did start out by playing with a keyboard and mouse, but as I progressed through the game I found it slowed me down somewhat, so I changed to a controller, which I found to be much better. I wouldn't say that the game is fast-paced or anything like that, but I did feel encumbered slightly by the keyboard and mouse when in battle. As well as Micel, you have a team of 5 companions that accompany you on the adventure, and you're able to switch to a couple of different formations as you navigate the levels. You can position your group in a circular formation, which is good for taking on enemies that are coming from all directions, or you can face forward for ranged attacks using bows and arrows. Although you don't have to use either of these formations, I found just letting my team stroll around freely made me lose lots more health, as your health bar is for the entire group, not just Micel. Moving around the game is fairly easy, though if you've decided to be in a formation, it can be a bit annoying at times when trying to turn around to take on an enemy that has suddenly appeared behind you. There are a few upgrades that can be made by improving the facilities in your village, though they mostly seem related to health. It might have been fun to have had an option for changing your weapons or even equipping the mice with better armour. There were no difficulty options and the game didn't even seem to get progressively more challenging. I felt the boss battles were fairly easy. In fact, the biggest challenge was managing my health bar, as at times it seems like there were no pickups for restoring life as I went from battle to battle. There was one mission where I needed to accompany a ladybird that was carrying stones for me, and I died at least 10 times as there were so many enemies and I just didn't see enough chances to refill my health bar. MiceGard includes a couple of levels that were quite fun and different from the norm. One had me controlling a huge siege weapon, I think they're called ballistas, and another had me sailing a longboat. They weren't a massive deviation from the rest of the game, but it was a nice touch to have something a little bit different in there. There are some choices to make as you go through the game as well, such as deciding whether or not to spare an enemy, and whether to make a sacrifice to your mouse god, but these seemed few and far between, so it would have been nice to have seen more of this, plus I didn't even notice much of an impact of any of the decisions that I'd made. Overall, the game took me around 4 hours to complete. Bear in mind I died a fair few times along the way, but MiceGard kept my interest throughout. As a fan of 16-bit games, the visuals appealed to me a lot. It reminded me of the classic RPGs of the 90s. The art style is pleasant, and although it has been inspired by older games, it looks clean and modern enough. The pop-ups when the characters chatted between battles was very reminiscent of Banner Saga, which is a favourite game of mine. I have to do a review of that in the future. I think the mice are all very well animated, and thankfully Miceal is a light brown colour, which makes him easy to identify from the other mice as you play, as they are all grey or darker shades of brown. The music from this game is as you'd expect. It's a score that wouldn't seem out of place in a fantasy drama. I would perhaps like to have had a bit more variety in the music, and I didn't think any of the tunes were particularly exciting. They were just there, in the background, which is fine, I suppose. The sound effects were there as well. Again, nothing special, sword swipes, little explosions, that sort of thing. I think they could have done more with the sound of this game, a more epic song to make me feel more Viking-y, and more squeaks from the mice perhaps, that would have been nice. Though actually thinking about it, it probably would have grated. That's a cheese pun. So this game is said to be inspired by Norse mythology, but except for a mention or two of Norse gods and controlling a longship at one point, I don't think this is particularly Viking-y. I've said that word twice now. I like the visuals of the game, cute characters, colourful levels. I found the plot quite enjoyable. The gameplay was fun overall, but I was left frustrated at times due to the lack of health pickups and manoeuvring around the levels when in formation. The sound was okay, could have been better in my opinion. All things considered, I'm going to give this game a 6.5 out of 10. As mentioned before, the game took me about 4 hours to complete, so if you think the footage on screen looks like fun, and you're looking for a short adventure game, then this might be for you. MiceGard comes out on the 15th of January, and I'll put a link to the Steam store page in the video description. I can't see anything about price on there, but I predict that this will set you back £8.50. That's based on the developers' 3 other games that are all priced at that. Once again, thanks to the developers for sending me the Steam key, and thanks to you, the viewer, for watching this video. Subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know in the comments if you plan to pick up this game. I'll be back soon with another video. Until then, stay safe and keep gaming.